This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at ease.com, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery, as well as an option for the same for folks living in the Portland, Oregon area. And easewellness.com is there when you need hemp-derived CBD products delivered via the mail in 42 U.S. states. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Thursday, June 6th, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 737 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We start off today with news of a just closed acquisition by multi-state cannabis operator Green Thumbs Industries, or GTI, of Nevada-based company Integral Associates. The $290 million deal will give GTI control of 3 new Las Vegas dispensaries, as well as a number of other retail and cultivation licenses and 2 large cultivation and processing facilities. GTI is paying $52 million of that total in cash, with the rest to be made up in stock. This is obviously a big deal numerically speaking, but also greatly expands GTI's footprint in Nevada, where it previously just had 1 store open. New Cannabis Ventures has more on this one if you want to dive in. New York Senator and Democratic presidential candidate Kirsten Gillibrands just released a detailed plan for legalizing marijuana at the federal level. Senator Gillibrand published her plan on Medium, and Kyle Yeager over at Marijuana Moment did a good job of rounding up all the top-line details. The plan calls for the expungement of nonviolent marijuana-related charges and requires that medical insurance companies expand coverage to include medical marijuana. Taxes from the sale of legal cannabis would also be set aside to reinvest back into communities that have historically borne the brunt of the government's war on marijuana. This is certainly the boldest and most detailed legalization plan issued by any of the presidential candidates so far. Zip over to Kyle's piece on this one for the full read and to click through to the senator's actual plan on Medium. Our final top story this fine Thursday brings us out to Delaware, where yesterday state lawmakers in the House Revenue and Finance Committee voted in favor of a bill to legalize adult use cannabis. The legislation, if passed, would set up a taxed and regulated sales system, taxed at 15%, overseen by an Office of Marijuana Control Commission. The bill was voted to move on to the full House, but WHYY is reporting that it may not be brought for a vote there until next year, as some lawmakers said they need to see certain amendments added before they could support it. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz on in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, ease.com, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery, as well as an option for the same for folks living in the Portland, Oregon area. And easewellness.com is there when you need hemp-derived CBD products delivered via the mail in 42 U.S. states. Swing over to ease.com today to check out their ever-evolving daily deals section, which today gives you 25% off the costs of select products when you use the discount code BLAZE, B-L-A-Z-E. You'll find vape pens from Kingpen, pre-rolls from Loud Pack, and concentrates from Dime Bag. All yours today for 25% off the retail cost when you use the discount code BLAZE over at ease.com, spelled E-A-Z-E. Big thanks to everyone at Ease for supporting our show. All right, time for the Blitz. Yesterday, a member of the Federal Reserve Board was being interviewed during a congressional hearing as part of the process of renewing her term of office and was asked by a Democratic senator about hemp companies being able to access business banking services. Montana Senator John Tester asked Fed board member Michelle Bowman how she was communicating to financial institutions on how they should treat industrial hemp business. Ms. Bowman replied, quote, "We would not discourage banks from banking these types of customers. We'll try to clarify that hemp is not an illegal crop," unquote. Utah is in the process of rolling out a new medical marijuana program after lawmakers and voters passed different bits of ballot measure and laws last year, adding up to a new medical system. But as the AP is reporting, there's been some pushback growing in the state from prospective cannabis farmers over how the program will be structured. Yesterday, the state held a public hearing on medical cannabis, and there was a lot of concern expressed over the fact that applicants are being asked to apply into a system that's not actually fully finalized yet. If you're into Utah business, this is not a bad one to open up. We jump now to North Carolina, where state lawmakers yesterday approved a bill in the Senate Agricultural Committee that would expand the state's pilot hemp cultivation program. But the proposed measure would also ban the smoking of industrial hemp as a medicine, something that's being criticized by North Carolina farmers as an overly restrictive measure that will cut into their business. Lawmakers yesterday decided to delay that ban on smoking hemp until December of 2020. We'll see how the bill fares in the rest of the legislative process. Connecticut is on the brink of adding new medical marijuana qualifying conditions, as on Monday, the state's Department of Consumer Protections met and agreed to add 5 new medical marijuana qualifying conditions, including intractable pain and Tourette syndrome. The list of 5 new conditions will have to receive final sign-off by a legislative committee before becoming official. Popping up to my corner of the country here in Maine, we have an update to the storyline of Maine trying to implement the adult use legalization ballot measure passed by voters in 2016. The program was hindered in its first couple of years of having to exist within the corrupt and racist administration of former Governor Republican Paul LePage, a reviled and ineffective leader who flexed every bit of obstructionist power he had to slow down any kind of positive progressive reform. The process of implementing adult use sales has picked up in recent months as Democrats took control of the governorship, and on Wednesday, the Maine Office of Marijuana Policy submitted a final draft of proposed rules and regulations for adult use sales to the state legislature for approval. A few changes were made over a previously released draft, most notably loosening up packaging requirements for legal cannabis, as well as restrictions on out-of-state investment. If you do business in Maine, you should be reading this one. CBC News is reporting that Julia Mullally, the Auditor General of the Canadian province of Newfoundland and Labrador, is planning on investigating the legal marijuana industry with an eye on making sure all necessary regulatory I's are dotted and T's crossed. Auditor General Mullally said she will also be looking into a provincial supply contract worth $40 million that was signed with industry giant Canopy Growth. Our final top story today is very much a sad one, as longtime New York marijuana legalization activist Doug Green died on Tuesday after a subway accident in New York City. Doug was a member of Empire State NORML and a tireless advocate for the legalization of marijuana. I was lucky enough to meet Doug only a few weeks ago during a panel discussion that I moderated in New York City, on which Doug was a member. My deepest condolences go out to all of Doug's friends, family, and colleagues. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Ease, and to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in, starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.